everyone. So for the first step to take while creating your whole project, which will be about React and Supabase project, we will be starting with installing this particular React.js project. So React.js can be downloaded or installed in multiple ways, and the one of, I would say, the best way to actually to download and install React.js into your local desktop will be using this particular white.js extension or this particular framework. So this is the best way. So as you can see here, it says this is the fastest way to actually download. So let's get started by clicking on this, and let's go to the bottom here, and you'll find this way of actually to install white.js directly into your desktop by having this npm create white at latest. So I'd like to copy this code here, and I would like to go to my desktop, and I would like to open my terminal, and I will be pasting this particular code that I have just copied from this particular white.js.dev website. So I'll be pasting it directly into this particular desktop here. So I'm just going to click enter, and of course, since I'm creating a white.js project, it will be prompting me to what is the name of the project. I would need to install the following, and then I need to say y. This will say y like this, and of course it will be asking me the project name. I'm just going to say Supabase. Okay, and next thing is that I need to choose the framework, of course React and JavaScript, and that's it. I just downloaded the prerequisites of the particular project, which is just a few bunch of files, and of course you need to install it also. Like for example, you need to change this directory, and of course you need to npm install to install the dependencies that have been downloaded, and of course we need to run it. So that's this three particular codes all about. We need to run this after we need to run these 3 lines of code. So I'm just going to copy and just going to paste it like here, paste anyway, and yeah, it's currently installing. Okay, so it's already been installed. Now next thing is to just run this particular code. I'm going to hit enter by having this npm run dev to be the one that runs the file. Okay, and as you can see here, it's already ready to be started. So I'm just going to click on this like this, and as you can see here, the browser just opens up by itself, and you'll be having this particular project boilerplates code actually like this. So this is how the white.js will be able to get downloaded and installed inside your local desktop. So let's say this is just simple countdown here. So this is how your white.js project will be having. So the next thing is that we need to have our Supabase database. So we need to go and open this code and just go for supabase.com like this, and of course we need to be having our own project. So in this case, I would like to click on start your own project, and I'll be signing in with my GitHub like this, and there you go. So currently I have already signed up this particular Supabase account with my GitHub account. So that's what it was really pretty easy for me to just get easily authenticated. So the next thing is, of course, we need to create a new project to get started with actually creating a particular database. So in this case, I need to make sure that I'll be needing to write down all the credentials. As you can see here, it's asking for the name of the project. I'm just going to say Supabase, and I'll just say CRUD just in case, because we don't want to just name it Supabase. And the password, I like to make it you can make it anything like this. For example, I would like to make it using a random password generator. So I'll be just copying this, and I'll just pasting it like this. As you can see here, the password is strong, so I don't need to do any more changes. So that's why we are able to make it even fast. And let's go and create new project, and there you go. So this is how your Supabase will be able to make once you're able to authenticate, you'll be having this particular screen, which is actually your dashboard itself. So as you can see here, we have home. We are at home, and there's also other stuffs as well. So as you can see here, this is some API information that's being provided here. Of course, in order to make it available for people to actually access your information in terms of database, we need to have our own like database, you need to click on database like this. Once you have clicked database, you'll be prompted to another different page. So in this page you can see here there are a couple of tables, and of course this is just some simple documentation. So what we need to do, we need to create a new table. So that's what we're going to do right now. So when you go to table editor, that's the first thing. Right after your home, you must be creating a new table. So by creating a new table, you'll be able to make it like available. You are making Supabase to be having a content or information that can be accessed through React. So in this case, I'll have to make a table. This is a simple table called users table, and I won't be having any description like this. And the next thing is that I have to go to this columns here, and ID should be where that always should be there for all the database table. And created ad, we won't be needing it, so we can just remove it like this. But let's say we need to have a different, of course, the user's gonna be having their name. For example, I'll have to say username, just gonna say name like this instead. And of course I'll be having age, and let's say and that's it. Yeah, we can just keep it very simple, just keep it just two extra yeah, like columns like this, and I'll have to click save. Ensure that all your columns are assigned type. Okay, so yeah, make sure you have assigned your type of your table like this. In this case, name, I would like to make it text, or you can either say varchar. Varchar is basically variable character, and also text is also the same, so I'm just going to say either one of this. And the age should be number, so in this case I'll say integer 8. Okay, so I'm just going to say click save, and there you go, you have your first table has been created. And here you can actually start creating a new row, by the way. So in this case I'll have to add the first person, which is okay, this ID. You can it will be automatically generated as a new one when we create a new insert a new row. And all we do, just need to just need to alter it here inside. For example, in this case, let's say my name, of course my age. Okay, so this is how it will be looking. So of course let's click on save, and there you go, you have your first first information, which is a user's data here. So in this case, you are able to access this particular user's data directly inside your React project. So let's go to our React project which we have just created. And as you can see here, this is the boilerplate working. So let's click and refresh, and there you go, you have it right here. So option, I'll have to open it with code. Okay, so right now you are inside your project folder, your project file that has been opened in VS Code. Now let's go to our our source here. So we need to make sure that we need to have like a way to make a connection between your local React project to your Supabase database that's being running online. So how are we able to do that is by connecting with API keys, and API tokens are the ones that we're going to use for this particular project. For most of the case, we'll be using APIs to make connection between two separate locations. So that's how we're going to do. So in order to create make a connection, we need to be having like a client where we are able to make a connection between the Supabase and your local project. So let's go to our source folder here. Just like zoom it for a bit more, and I want to create a new file called create client. Okay, so it's just a JS file. So inside JS file, I need to be having this particular import. As you can see here, when I type create client, will be the one that will be coming from Supabase. But I can see here there's no option that are actually listed as a suggestions to actually to like there's no suggestion showing to autofill this particular create client word. So in that means we need to install Supabase dependencies directly into our project here. So how are we able to do how are we able to install Supabase dependency? You need to go to Google and you go directly, just type Supabase npm, and that's it. So as you can see here, the first result will be you'll be having is the Supabase npm installation. So this is the dependency that we need to be installing. So to make sure your React.js is actually able to work some certain Supabase functions. For example, let's go to our new terminal here. So I'm just gonna say it like this. Just gonna paste exactly what I just pasted. So once we have already installed this particular dependency for Supabase, we can actually we can go to our file here, which is create client file. So as you can see here, let's remove all of this and just redo it again. For example, import, and after import that create client. Yeah, as you can see here, it just opens at the first. It just creates. Just pops up at the first list. As you can see here, now you have your Supabase dependency installed properly. That's how you're able to test it. So let's click on this. Okay, so we're gonna use this particular dependency, which is create client. So how are we able to do that is that we need to have export const Supabase. So in this case, we're going to use Supabase as the variable to actually make a connection. So which is equals to create client. So this is where your create client dependencies will come in use. So create client. So inside create client, we will be having two parameters, which is the first one will be is the API URL like this, so something like this, the URL of the API, followed by the API token, API key itself. Okay, so this is the format of how to say create clients variable. It should be accepting these two APIs. So how are we able to access these two API? Is that we need to go to our Supabase, and let's close this, and we're just going to open side by side. We're going to have it here, and this is going to be here. Just going to close this. Okay, so we need to make sure we need to have our first variable, the first parameter, which is API URL. So we need to go to our Supabase and let's look for our settings here. Or you can also go to our home here, because the home page should be having. Okay, as you can see here, we have this particular API project URL, which is copy. We just need to copy this, and we need to paste it inside our API URL. This is URL, basically the URL of your API. So it's going to paste it like a string like this, in a string format. And the next thing we need to do is we need to copy API key itself, which is here. As you can see here, the API key is here. So copy this API key and just go to our project. So in this case, we're gonna make it into a string format like this. Okay, so just gonna paste it like this. Okay, we are pasting these two tokens. API that's already inside our Supabase client, Supabase project, and just make sure you are able to paste exactly like this in actually string format, which by having a set of quotation marks, and that's it. This is how you make this is the initial connection. So let's click on save like this. Let's click save all, and let's go to the next thing is like we need to test whether are we able to receive this particular connection. Is the connection really working or not? So we need to go to our app.jsx. So as you can see, that's already like a boilerplate code here, but which we won't be needing any of this. So in this case, I'll have to go and select everything, and I'll just remove it like this. And what I'll be doing here, I'll be having the React functional components like this. For example, RAFCE. So by having RAFCE, you'll be having a template for blank functional component, this is the one that we usually be having. So in this case, I'll have to import that particular Supabase client which we have just created. So import, in this case I'll have to call Supabase instead, because we are actually importing a Supabase, and this Supabase is coming directly from this create client here. So in this case, this is the one that we'll be importing. So let's go to app.jsx. So Supabase. So as you can see here, this Supabase is here. So it's supposed to come from create client folder. But the next part is that we're gonna make sure we need to like make a connection. We need to test the connection that has been made. So in order to do that, let's make a fetch function, a fetch data function, where we are going to fetch some data. So just to test whether are we able to whether is this particular Supabase has been connected to our local project. So we're gonna use a fetch data. We're gonna have async function. So async followed by function, and I want to say this particular function to be fetch. I would say fetch users, because we have only one table called users table. So that way we are able to be specific on what are we exactly fetching. So let's make it like a function like this and open the curly braces, and this is how a function is. And the next thing is that whatever we're fetching here, we're going to store it inside our data. Okay, so in this case we're going to make it const, and it's going to be a curly braces data like this. So this is how we able to make a variable. And next thing is that we need to make sure we are calling the Supabase that we actually, the client that we have already created, which is just need to say Supabase like this. And this Supabase will be directly able to access the data that's coming directly into from the Supabase that we have created. So let's, from which particular data we need to be specifying the data also from the name of the table. For example, the name of the table we have created inside Supabase is called users, and this is just like this is how the SQL code looks like. So this is because, yeah, Supabase is actually a SQL based database, and from users, and of course we need to select everything. So we need to select everything. And the way how to select everything is just need to put an asterisk like this, sorry, asterisk. And this is how you are able to access the data that's coming from users, and you're collecting you're actually accessing all the data that's coming from the data Supabase like this. And the next thing is that we need to make sure we are actually setting we need to test whether are we able to access this data here like this. So we need, okay, so because this data is actually within this function, we need to be having a variable where we can actually access as globally. So usually we use set state functions. For example, let's say if I have a user, a constant user, and then there's a set user, set state function, we're able to access it everywhere within this particular project, because it's a global way to actually initialize your variable. So let's create a how do you say use state function like this. So in this case I'll have to have use state and use state like this. Okay, so this way we are able to make a variable called constant. It's going to say const like this, and inside will be having the users, and of course the name of the function called set users like this, followed by use state like this. And inside use state, usually because it's an empty array, so I'm just going to say empty array like this. Initially it's going to be an empty array like this. And next thing is that once we're able, then we need to call the set users function, and we're gonna equate it to this particular data here, So this is how we are able to do that. And of course we need to test that console log like this. So let's put like a console log here, anywhere that you like. So console dot log. Okay, console log. In this case I'll have to say the value of the users. I'll test the value of the users. What is the value of the users like this? And let's click save, and let's go to our project. Of course we need to run the project at first by having npm run dev. So we need to make sure we run this before we actually testing anything. So let's make this file. Let's open this link that we have already generated, and let's put this aside and make the code to be this side as well. And of course let's open this thing a bit more bigger. Okay, we won't be needing interpret, so we can just disregard it. So what we're gonna need here, let me just close the other stuff like this. So in this case we need to go to our inspect like this, and inside our inspect we need to make sure we are actually going to console. Okay, so console is actually, we are able to access it like this. So go to console like this, and as you can see here you have an empty array. Okay, so this is the reason why, because there are a couple of reasons can be. For example, you have two empty array, and as you can see here, it's because of this particular empty array we have just stated. And the reason is because there needs to be a way to actually for this particular React to actually constantly running every single time without even waiting for it to be called. So how are we able to do that? And particularly for Supabase, there needs to be like a way to actually just keep on like a way to actually to keep on calling the same Supabase function. So in that way, we need to make sure we need to use use state function, use effect function. So that's the next thing we should be adding, use effect like this. So inside our use effect function, let's say in this case I have to put use effect, and it's going to be a, I mean, let me just call the boilerplate itself. That'll be far more easier. For example, you can just directly call use effect snippet, and this is how the normal template would look like. So but then you won't be having any of this. This is blank, this is blank as well. So in this case, we just want to make sure we call this fetch users function every single time that we are running our project. So that's what I meant. That's the reason why we're using use effect. So every single time when we load our page, we need to make sure we run this particular function called fetch users. Okay, so let's click on save, and there you go. You're having your data to be undefined because there are a couple of reasons that can be seen. So as you can see here, we are actually setting the users here, but the console is inside here. We can also make it directly place it right here, right after this data, just to make sure, just to test it whether is it working or not. Okay, as you can see here, it is saying undefined. So there are a couple of reasons why it says undefined here. So as you can see here, the one thing I found a bug is that since this is an async function, an async function needs to be coming along with an await operator. So in this case, I have to add await here. So let me click save, and I have to hit refresh, and so as you can see here, we are having this particular array that is being consoled here, and the reason why, because it's actually not getting any data that's coming inside users data, or we can directly access this user data directly inside our console like this. But as you can see here, you'll still find an empty array like this because there's no I mean, the data is not being fetched, and that's the problem here. So the reason why there can be a couple of reasons why there's no data is actually being fetched. Let's go to our Supabase here. So let's go to our table editor like this, and let's go to users, and let's go and just as you can see here, there is no active RLS policies. We need to make sure we need to alter it. So as you can see here, RLS is enabled, and RLS basically is like a security feature to actually not to give access of your data to anyone besides for those who are having those particular secret keys. So that's the reason why RLS is not making us to access the user's data. So for now, just for this particular testing purposes, we're gonna disable RLS, and the reason why, because RLS is actually row level security for table users. So we're gonna disable it just for this particular testing purposes. And let's go to our table here, and users table, and of course we need to make sure we are able to access this particular just one piece of data, row of data like this here, and that way we're able to access this particular yeah. Let's go and open this. Sorry, let's go and open the project here. So as you can see, these two are blank, by the way. But let's say if I refresh this page, and there you go, you have something that is actually inside your array of data. In this case, let's say click on this. As you can see here, right now I'm able to access the data that's coming directly from Supabase, and that's it. Yeah, that's the way how are we able to test the connection between Supabase and to your local project. And for this part of the video, I think that is the only goal that we need to check. We need to make sure that we are able to check. We need to be able to see this particular console that's coming directly from this data, and that data is actually a fetch response that's coming directly from Supabase table called users, and we're just getting everything from that particular table. And we are also setting this users function users data variable called users. So let's see if I were to just remove it here and just paste it like this here. And in this case, I'll have to change it data to users. Click save. Let's remove everything, and there you go. You also have the same the data that's coming directly from Supabase also, and because it's directly equated inside to users, so we are able to access directly users. And that's it, guys. That's the part of this video. That's the end of this video, where we just need to make sure we are able to install this particular React project, set up Supabase, and we need to test the connection between these two projects. Okay, online project and a local project. So thank you guys for watching this part of the video. Let's catch up on the next part of the video, where we will actually going you guys on building the front end of this particular project. So thanks for watching.